John, could you tell us a bit about the film?
Oh yes, I just want to say I'm super thrilled about being here. I mean, Raindance, it's been an incredible year. The film's really, really done well. It's taken off. We've been all over the world. South Korea, just Whitehorse, Santa Barbara. We're going to New York City, Halifax, Toronto. Anyway, the film is a film which is kind of unusual. It's not quite like a wildlife film. It's a film that, when it comes to giant bluefin tuna, they've been off the radar. We've had films about orcas, like blackfish. We've had the Cove. We've had shark water. So now it's like, time to take a look at tuna. But when we think about tuna, we think about them just as food. We never think of them in the same way we would think about like an elephant or orangutan or a panda bear or something like that. And, sort of, sushi, let's get some, and that's the way I was when I started this film. And anyway, so through the experience of making this film, it completely changed how I feel about these creatures. I actually wanted just to go and catch one because I'm a fly fisherman. And so basically the story is that where I'm from in Prince Edward Island, which is off the east coast of Canada, there used to be a lot of tuna back in the 60s and 70s. There's like Old Man in the Sea type stuff, catch fish up to 15 feet long, 1,649 pounds was the biggest one they caught. But it was like a sports fishery. And then Japanese found out about this place and wanted to export the fish. And so they came. So instead of people burying the fish, they just started buying them for $25 at that time. Actually, a couple of years ago, one went for like over $1 million for one fish in the Skiji market. But anyway, so when people found out how much money they were worth, they slayed them. And over a period of 8 or 9 years, they basically wiped them out. There's like no fish left whatsoever. So they disappeared for an entire decade. So what's interesting is when I came back on this film, I had I didn't know quite what I would find because I had a hunch, when I went after this. But the fish all of a sudden came back in enormous numbers. Like there was none, and all of a sudden no one's ever seen so many fish, which is kind of like really sudden. Like what's going on with that? But not only that, when the fish came back, they were no longer afraid of boats or fishermen. Like the fishermen were hand feeding them over the side of the boat. And that's when I first saw something. When I started doing the research, I saw that on YouTube that these guys were doing that, and know that tuna are super elusive and they're really, really kind of wary animals. For them to come up and be hand-fed is exceptional. So I said, what has happened here since, way they are naturally to where we are now? So the film's a bit of a mystery story about what is going on here. And through that, you learn a lot about the ocean. You learn about, why these fish are super hungry. So basically when a boat goes by now, the fish will actually chase the boat down. You'll have 15, 20 fish between 800 and 1,000 pounds, waiting for you to throw something over like a pet, So, and we've actually had fishermen that did circles on the oceans with their 42-foot boat, and we shot them from a helicopter, and you could see them sending out waves across the ocean telling this fish that they were here, and the fish would actually come and find them. So that makes the fish very vulnerable, So this is what the film's about, sort of like it builds it up as a mystery story, and as we find out the reasons for what, I'm not going to get the whole story, you got to come see the film, but the reasons sort of start coming in, and you start sort of getting different clues. And but what I really wanted to do was try to capture these animals with my cinematography in a way that you could build some empathy for them. Because when I spent like years out in the water trying to get them just right, and I figured out my own techniques of filming them. So I'm using underwater housing that I actually got from a surfing video off of Vimeo, right? So hey, this would work for tuna. But the images that we got is part of the tragedy, because you would never get images like this, but because they're hungry, we were able to get them in and give them a herring, get them in close, and as you go through the film, we have underwater sequences, we sort of cut it to sort of classical music, and it's very, very beautiful. So, as you go through, it gets kind of darker and darker, and it gets a lot of people. It's a very balanced film. Like the fishermen believe that the stocks are rebuilt. We should be able to kill more. But then what we did was that we brought the scientists in to say, hey, what's going on here? And the scientists say, no, actually, you're taking the last of all that's left. And not only that, you're taking the major breeders out of the population. And these guys, it's kind of like about an epic change that's going on the planet right now with giant fish moving north.
And was there any kind of backlash from the fishing community when the film was finished?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, at first there was a lot of trepidation because they were expecting a film which would sort of promote charter fishing or commercial fishery, but that was never the deal that I had with them to begin with. Like some people wanted that they were convinced if the scientists came up there that they would see their point of view that yes, the fish are super abundant, so that they would just say fine, support getting more quota for my cat, right? But that didn't happen. The scientists actually gave them a different point of view, which is completely the reverse of how they feel. So there's a big divide on that. But as it's sort of like a classic crisis structure in the film. As you go forward, you find out the reasons why the fish are behaving like this, and that's because they're not getting enough to eat. So then you realize that they don't really need tuna to keep the lights on. They're actually, this film, the reason they fish them is more about an adrenaline wash, battling them. Like when we were cavemen, we wanted to take the mammoths down. There's the kind of Georgian and dragon, there's the kind of that element, and you hang a fish on the wharf, and then you would, it's the ultimate affirmation of your identity as a fisherman. But anyway, so when they came to see the film, the commercial guys were sort of really glad that the charter guys, because they actually don't like each other, the two sides of the industry, weren't sort of glorified, and but no one is glorified in this film. Like everyone has their say, and I said, I don't want to make a propaganda film which would just give your point of view. Like no one would take the film seriously. You got to show all points of view, and that way, when you do make your point, then people are going to listen, and we'll try to do it as honestly as possible and try to fill the picture in. So there's no narration in the film whatsoever. I shot a lot. I shot like 128 hours of film so that I could build a film like that without using narration and follow a story. But it was like all these different pieces in the puzzle, and I didn't really have 100% didn't know what the story was myself, because I had to go and find it. In a sense, I knew something epic was going on, but I had to go and find it. So anyway, I found the story, and it's doing really, really well at festivals, and I'm just like, I can't even believe it got like a best, feature documentary nomination. There was apparently 7,500 international submissions in all categories, but they only picked 5 docs. So this is one of them. So, and we started out well. We won a prize at Lunenburg Dock Fest. We were invited to Santa Barbara, which is like a red carpet film festival in the social justice competition, not the nature. So it kind of gives you a sense of what the film's about. It's kind of a film which is about nature, but it's also about who we are as humans. And in the end, you learn just about as much about us as you do about the tuna.
And if there was one message you wanted viewers to take home from the film, what would you say it would be?
I would say, come and take a look at the film and see how you feel about them, because we just think they're like a stupid fish, you know what I mean? But once you get to know these things, they're not actually stupid. Like we tend to sort of cuddle anything with lungs, like whales, and like I said, we grew up with stuffed toys, and we had tigers and giraffes and bears and stuff like that, but you never had a stuffed tuna. And as we kind of bonded to that, and we were bigger, we saw The Lion King, and so when a dentist tries to kill a lion, there's like a moral outrage. So in a sense that it kind of shows you the way that we're socialized turns into that behavior and actually translates into some pretty devastating stuff that's happening in the ocean. But these are the inshore fishery guys. It's the major offshore guys that did the most of the damage. But because the fish are so wide-ranging, it's like the tragedy of the commons. Like no one's exempt from being responsible to try to find a solution for they don't understand political boundaries. They don't understand, they're wide-ranging fish. So in a sense, I think just appreciate them as wildlife, because they're one of the most, most beautiful creatures on the earth. Like they're right up there with rhinoceroses or, orchids or whatever. Like you have to come see the film, because the way I shot them, I used super slow motion cinematography, and just right at the water level, and we shot it actually in the middle of a hurricane, not a hurricane, so that the sky's all crazy. It's a very, very visual film. I really hope people come and see it.
So there's one moment in the film where I think someone has just caught a large tuna, a bluefin tuna, and they cut out its heart and they hold it to the camera and it's still beating.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's an amazing scene. I mean, it's incredibly raw, it's incredibly powerful. What's it like to be present for something like that? Surely it must be quite moving, or?
It's kind of funny you picked that out, because that was like the apex. That's kind of like the diamond moment in the film, but I probably shouldn't say this, but I'll say that. But producers actually had a better scene, but I had to pull out because they thought it was like too intense. But it actually, when the guy pulled the beating heart out, there was a couple of kids that were on the wharf, and he was just showing them the beating heart because they wanted him to come in place. So the kids came over and put their fingers on it and felt it when it was like beaten. And I got that shot, but they wouldn't. The National Film Board, God bless them, they gave me the money to film, but they just thought that was maybe a little too intense. But for me, it was like, oh my God, so like a gift from the God image, But it was too good to put in a movie. So what we did was we kind of compromised with the hand, and then we have a shot where the dialogue is that we need to feel and understand these creatures more. And on the word feel, Carl Stefina is a very famous author that's in the film. He's a famous ecologist author. There's a shot of a fisherman grabbing the tail, so we kind of put that in. I don't know, but it's funny you pointed that out, because I was like one of the most. I really wanted that in my film, but I got just about everything I wanted in the movie, and I feel that it does tell the story that I wanted to tell, and the different. You'll see the images, the production values, and the slow motion stuff through the film is sort of interspersed. So I actually got that idea from video games. Because you get like a reward movie, you go through a level in the film, and all of a sudden you get, okay, you got that, and you get so I did all these kind of reward movies, and that's how I structured it. So it's a very entertaining film visually, and also in terms of just a mystery story and sort of like what is going on here.
And what does it mean to you to have your film at Raindance Festival?
Well, I mean, it's like huge. I mean, this is the European premiere of the film, so I couldn't ask for something better. I mean, just. My whole family lives in London, so I get to have a European premiere, get to see my family, and also it sends out a signal in Europe. Hey, there's something here, So that will maybe translate into other countries in Europe, and I'm hoping maybe some reviews, maybe some other festivals might take it. I mean, we've done really well. Like I was at Hot Docs. I went to the industry session at Hot Docs. We just signed a massive distribution deal, with a California distributor, and it was just like, I said, is that the kind of film that you want? And I had about 20 meetings, and this one guy said, that's exactly the kind of film that we want. So it's going to be released to over 100 different digital platforms in January, which they have over 1 billion subscribers within their reach. And I got a email yesterday. We actually got invited to go back to San Francisco, because Lucasfilm is sponsoring a theater, and they want to see the film, sort of bringing in the Carpatino people in to see the movie. Like, we were just in San Francisco. We actually won the Wildlife Award, so we're kind of competing with chase and coral. So that was pretty cool. And also like Santa Barbara, like the California, like coastline people that are kind of interested in those issues, really like the film. And we're going back to San Juan Island, which is in Washington State. Just got another invite in New York City Wildlife Festival there. Planet and Focus in Toronto. We were invited to Busan, South Korea. We were the opening night film in the CNC Festival. I mean, they flew me over there. They put me in like a 4-star hotel, paid me to be there. You know, it was like an opening night film. It's just, you know, like it was a love, you know, in terms of a passion to make the film, and it's nice to know that, you know, the choices you made are really affecting people, and that they're reacting in a way that you would hope they would be inspired to sort of dig deeper into this. And I think it's a real wake-up call. I think the film is doing really, really well because right now, in terms of the environment with oceans and climate change and things like that, I mean, people see a lot of changes. You're having like more wicked weather, you're having hurricanes, you're getting right whales that are getting, this is part of the whole story. Is the reason there are so many fish up there is because global warming has allowed the temperature to get so high that the large pelagic fish like giant tuna and great white sharks and whales are all moving north and are congregating. And plus that, we've overfished all the bait fish down south, so there's no food for them. So they move, so we got like this perfect storm that's going on. Like they're starting to see tuna off of Sweden. That was just the last couple of days. They've never seen them since like the 40s. They're starting to see fish between Greenland and Iceland. They've never seen those before. They're seeing them in places in Newfoundland. It's like a whole, but it's not just in our part of the globe, it's happening in Asia. There's a whole planetary change that's happening. But see, we're all focused on the land, and you know, so was I. You know, you don't see what's under the water. You know, it's got that. I mean, you just don't have the same kind of, you know, consciousness as a society, right? So this film's kind of like a real wake-up call. Hey, we should start paying attention to what's going on here. And you know, 90% of the large pelagics are already gone. You know, like sharks, and we're down to the last 10% of tuna. And basically, these tuna that are off PEI are the last in the entire Atlantic Ocean. They're gone from everywhere else. They used to be distributed all the way from the northern hemisphere straight down to, you know, off of Brazil. They're all gone. This is the last one. So basically, it's sort of like the last buffalo hunts, you know. But I think the only way that, you know, these things are going to stand a chance is if we can show them in a different light where, you know, you finally understood what they are. And, you know, just as like, you go and get sushi and you go, like, you never think about it. It's just normal. It's like ordering French fries, right? You know what I mean? But it's not. I mean, you might as well be, you know, you could be like eating rhinoceros, like I said, or orangutan, or like eat an eagle. You know what I mean? Like once you sort of get a sense of what the creatures are, like they're a superfish. They can range. They've tagged them, found them 23,500 miles away from when they tagged them, and that's incredible. They swim across the entire ocean in 2 weeks. They've tagged them off Canada and found them in the middle of the Mediterranean. They can swim like 55 miles an hour in a short burst. They can swim a torpedo. They can dive down to 3,000 feet. Any other creature can do that. It's a right whale after giant squid. I mean, they're a remarkable animal. So I'm hoping that, you know, by learning more as an introduction, it'll inspire people to sort of, hey, wait a minute, you know, there's something here that, you know, as a society we missed. So like I said, it's, you know, we had sharks, we've had orcas, you know, you know, we've had dolphins. So, you know, I think it's time we took a look at tuna too.
Thank you so much.
Okay.